Okay, this video is going to be pretty big. You might have ignored my other Death series videos, but don't ignore this one. Okay, the Observator yesterday gave a link, this link here, to another James Burke 1970s, 1978 I do believe, yeah, documentary called Connections. Alright, let me just raise this up a bit, hold on. Now, I've already covered James Burke, right, that Freemason insider who made The Dark Side of the Moon, about the moon landing fakery, and the astronauts saying, "Oh, boo hiss, you're a faker," and then the next astronaut saying, "We faked it," and the guy, the astronaut sitting next to him, rolling his eyes, you know, like, uh-oh, he just told the truth. Anyway, so I didn't know that James Burke, right, had made a 1978 documentary style series called Connections, and season 1 episode 1, what does it start with? Well, the trade towers, of course. That's how it starts. And the trigger effect, okay, connections. Now what's 9/11 connected to? Well, we know what it's connected to. We know what comes next, and guess what comes next in this 1978 James Burke documentary thing, right? Change, yeah. Zionist Masonic change. Look, that's the towers. The trigger effect, the towers, right? So he's in the towers, he goes up the Otis lifts in the towers, right? Now, here is a very interesting thing that I found immediately from the back of that, right? I found a forum, and this is from the 4th of August 2003. Look, right? This post by Hale Ants. 2003. I mean, this guy was ahead of his time here, right? And the way he describes it is like, it's almost like he doesn't know that it's predictive programming, but he's spotted it anyway. So this guy's really good. And if you notice, he's banned, right? See that, right? Banned. Because they don't want any truth out there, but they've been very lax, and they've left this thread open all the way back to 16 years, isn't it? So let's read what it says. Let me get something to make it higher so we can read it more clearly. Let's try that. Right. Creepy 9/11 stuff in James Burke's original Connection series from 1978. Right, he just bought the original Connection series 1978, saw it then and maybe once or twice since. The very first scene in the very first episode is the base of the Twin Towers, which I've just shown you. Right? The trigger effect, 9/11. Right? Including that gold globe. He then describes different things that happened in New York City the night of the 1965 Northeastern US blackout. So you've got 9/11 already, and blackout. One of them is an airliner that was on final approach to JFK and lost the IFL signal because of the power failure, the blackout. It was flight 9/11. Then, at the end of the 4th episode, Faith in Numbers, he's on Ellis Island describing how the computer punch card led to such huge changes and that it keeps the model world from falling down. The camera is at an extreme close-up of a card, which James Burke lowers as he says this line, revealing, wait for it, the Twin Towers. Now, he's writing here, I know it's all just a coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. But then again, you've got to forgive this guy. It's 2003. This is 2 years before I started looking into it. Right? Yeah, not to mention depressing. Well, it's not depressing. It's just pre-advertising. It's the predictive programming. But this guy probably didn't know about it. But nevertheless, banned user, too much truth. 2003. I got to rate this guy. Hale Ants from 2003, 16 years ago. And very lucky that this thread is been there for 16 years so that I can make this video. Now, okay, so he gets in the towers, he goes up to the top, And then what happens later in this episode?
But what it took the pharaohs 4,000 years to build took the Kuwaitis 4,000 days. What's happened in Kuwait, the change from a nomadic existence to being able to buy and use everything modern technology has to offer, has come in much less than one generation.
Same episode later on in this episode. What do you expect to see? Huh? What do you expect to see?
Kuwait represents the immense power of technology used in a way most of us have never experienced, because we've lived with the kind of change it can bring for more than 100 years. Here, it's been focused. Change has been instant and total.
All about change. How many times have I featured that recently? The word change.
Kuwait has suddenly become
brought by
like
them.
New York or any other of the great urban islands of technology.
Interesting.
Totally
41044.
on that technology. Like them, without it, Kuwait would return to the desert.
Hello, a whole bunch of numbers there.
Hello, Jean? Hi, how are you?
Get ready, get ready.
I'm coming to spend my Christmas.
Because I'm not wrong.
You see how
I've never been wrong.
increasingly the only way we in the advanced industrial nations with our bewildering technology network can survive is by selling bewilderment and dependence on technology to the rest of the world. Or is it not bewilderment?
Dependence on technology, yeah, control the future using technology against
and
you.
yet, whether or not you dress up technology,
There you go. There it is.
technology network is the same.
There they are. They are.
As
That's it.
spreads,
Boom.
Will it spread the ability to use
Seattle,
machines as we do,
Space Needle,
without understanding?
references. Boom. So it
Somebody
starts.
said a few years ago about the way our modern world affects us all.
Yeah. So 1 minute at the beginning, he's in the trade towers, right? 9/11, and it's got 9/11 all over it, etc. Like the guy explained. Then later on in the same episode, Connections, it's called, the trigger effect. What have you got? He's inside the Space Needle structure for Seattle. Now, if you call that some kind of coincidence, then well, that's your prerogative, huh? You can do that. I'll probably watch the whole thing. I'll watch the whole series if I can find it all. This is on Vimeo, not on YouTube. That's why I haven't found it before. So wow, there you go. I'm right. Right, Connections. Yeah, 311 connected to 911. The trigger effect, 9/11, and he's mentioning change, just like that Code 211 film. Your life can change in an instant. And what was the other one that was saying about changes? I was highlighting that just recently. Yeah, because these things are to trigger communist, Hebrew Bolshevik communist change via Fabianism, slowly, big gaps in between. So I'll carry on watching this. But that's a big one. That's a really, really big one. To find that not only in 1978, right, 1978, that James Burke was pre-advertising 9/11 blatantly, and then what do you see? Space Needles, huh? Seattle. It's always been Seattle. It should be Seattle. The only reason why they would change it up a little bit and change it down to LA or San Fran would be because of me. But otherwise, no, it's all systems go for Seattle. Boom, blackout, Second American Civil War.